The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast.
Looking for Booker. Caruso defending. Booker eyes the clock. Sun spreading the floor. Book raising up. Fires. Boom! Boom goes Booker! 0.7 left.
Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, here with Sam. How you doing, Sam?
I'm good. I'm pretty good. A very exciting, if neutral in terms of record, back-to-back for the Suns that just happened. We're recording here fresh off a 3-point loss to the Houston Rockets, which of course followed a 3-point win against the Oklahoma City Thunder the night before. By the way, the Oklahoma City Thunder are down by, or they already lost this game probably to the Charlotte Hornets by now. Lost that game by 27 points tonight. So they've officially lost a back-to-back to us and the Hornets, which is crazy.
Wemby broke their spirits.
Yeah, I mean, they're in a little bit of trouble now. They're obviously still a great team, but it was interesting the past couple of days. Where do you want to start?
I think it's fair to just talk about it as a whole, just to start first, because the OKC win was a 3-point victory. And it was a game winner by Devin Booker. We'll talk about the whole game. Fascinating game. And then the Suns' flight last night was canceled. The Suns decided to cancel it because there were mechanical issues on the plane, which would have had them just waiting at the airport until the plane got fixed, and they could have not landed till the morning. So they had a new flight in the morning. They flew there today, played a game tonight, a game that I anticipated that they were going to get absolutely destroyed in, and they lost by 3 to the Rockets on a KD game winner. There was game winners in both games. The Suns found a way to keep that game close, and look, no moral victories and all, but in a sense, I really thought they were going to get demolished against the Houston Rockets. They really fought. They found a way to keep it close. No Şengün in that game. Obviously, the Suns are still injured. No Jalen Green. Grayson Allen did play, but appeared to be terrified to shoot a three-pointer in this game.
They win this game with Jamaree Bouyea, for sure, too. Don't forget. Jamaree Bouyea out on concussion protocol.
That's a good point. Who's been very, very good.
Yeah.
But yes, they found a way to keep that game close, and then did lose at the end. They did have an opportunity to win. Devin Booker took a really tough shot. You know, the difference between a long defender contesting it and Alex Caruso, who is a good defender, but a defender that can't quite get up in his space. And then, of course, playing on the second night of a back-to-back on those legs probably had some effect on it too. This is the third time the Suns have played the Rockets. Twice was the second night of a back-to-back. The other time was without Devin Booker. Sure would be nice.
Yep.
To see just sort of a normal, fair game against this team.
There is one more game between these two teams. The Suns are 0-3 on the season series. The last game is not until April. So we'll see what these two rosters look like in April. It could be quite a bit different. And that game is in Phoenix, by the way. So we'll have one more chance to get them. I will be honest, though, I really wanted this one for all sorts of narrative reasons, for all sorts of legacy reasons.
Yeah, I mean, winning back-to-back against OKC and Houston would have been a huge victory for the Suns, just from a proving themselves standpoint.
But also, the reason I wanted this one is they still would have been down 2-1 in the season series, but I had started thinking to myself, there could be a tiebreaker consideration with this team potentially. Even after this loss, which it is unfortunate that they lost, but the Suns are still only 3 games back of Houston in the standings, right? And if they had won this game, it would have been 1 game back, basically. So, it hurts to have lost this one. You compare the 2 game winners, pretty similar circumstances, kind of just going at it ISO. Devin Booker over Alex Caruso, and who's the second defender? With Lou Dort coming up at the very end there.
They're 2 best defenders.
Yeah, Lou Dort trying to crowd his space at the last second, and he was able to make the step back 3 from a few feet out. Of course, the irony that everyone's brought up there is this has been Devin Booker's worst 3-point shooting season.
His only 3 of the game.
It was his only 3 of the game. He's at 30% on the season. He's at 26% on pull-up threes. I think I saw someone post. But he made the one that counted, and it was an absolutely magical moment for Booker to beat the Thunder. And then you fast forward to tonight, Kevin Durant's turn for Houston. One difference, the Thunder had the second defender in Lou Dort coming up to crowd Booker's airspace a little bit. I didn't like the fact that I thought Royce O'Neal did a good job tonight, by the way. I thought he played a good game.
I did too.
But he was a guy.
I think the Suns did a good job on KD in general.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Houston, right, is Şengün's out. They're not a late game execution team to begin with, and especially like doubly so with Şengün out. So Royce obviously doesn't have the height, to match KD 1-for-1 or the length, honestly, even. He did a decent job, but he was just a step behind the play. There could have been a second defender there, I think, somehow. And honestly, in the last 5-6 minutes of the game in general, I understand if you wouldn't want to do this if Şengün is in the game because he's there as a connector, as a pressure release valve. But tell me if you think I'm wrong, if you think I just sound like a hater, because I am a bit of a KD hater. But I just feel like late game, KD's the one star. You just need to be blitzing his shit every time.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
I thought it was a little unfortunate, honestly, tonight how the Suns dropped the ball at doing that.
Yeah, I mean, you rely on what's worked throughout a game as well, so I kind of understand it. He was, before that 3 that he made, he was 1 for 11 from the 3-point line, so I just understand the perspective, but he's Kevin Durant, and that's the shot that he's made throughout his career, and he made it again tonight. Let's talk about the OKC game, since we unfortunately decided to record after this Houston game instead of after the OKC game. But I really thought this game was important for the Suns because they lost to them by 49 points in the previous game, which was another game, of course, with no Devin Booker. But, you don't want to see a team destroy the Suns like that and the Suns not get something back in the next time that they play against them. And in this game, they really did, and they did it, I think, in really unexpected ways. I think the real story of the game, more than anything else, was, of course, Jordan Goodwin, who had a career high in threes, 8 3-pointers, scored 26 points. Overall was 8 for 13 from the 3-point line, had 4 rebounds, continues to rebound pretty well overall, although no offensive rebounds in this one. And just had, I think, the game of his life, shooting-wise. We've talked about it recently before this game. He has gone into a bit of a shooting slump post putting the mask on. He appears to be used to the mask now.
He was 3
at
for
8
4
threes in this game.
He was 3 for 4 again tonight, by the way. I know he cooled down after the first quarter against Houston, but just saying, if you put these two games together, like the slump is over. I think you can say.
He's arguably shooting even better than before that. But yes, he was awesome. He was just so awesome in the OKC game, and I think really, really vital to the Suns winning that game. In fact, I would say his threes and then 2 threes early by Ryan Dunn is what felt like the Suns were in the game early, because the OKC defense really did smother them a lot in the first half. They only scored 42 points in that first half, but those guys kept them in it, and they found a way to win.
Yeah, Jordan was, or Goody, was sensational. Obviously, it was part of OKC's scheme to let him continue to be open and have him be the guy shooting the corner threes, but it's hard to be in the position where you have to knock them down, and he was certainly able to, right? There are other guys on the team. Royce did not shoot the ball well against OKC, and he's a bona fide shooter. Grayson, coming back tonight against Houston, did not shoot the ball well. So it was absolutely huge for Goody to have a game like that. Ryan Dunn is another guy. I think Dunn actually did hit a few threes against OKC, but I think part of the scheme there was to have him shoot the ball a lot too. And it's one thing to take them, and I'm always happy whether a guy's in a slump or not, to just have him continue to take shots with confidence, but they needed Goody to hit 8 threes in order to stay in the game against OKC. Against teams like this at the top of the Western Conference, you need to play well with a good process and all that, but you also need just a little bit of luck. You need a little bit of execution, right? you're not just going to luck into like OKC finished with 105 points, was probably one of their worst offensive performances of the season in that game against the Suns, right? So in addition to that, needed a little bit of execution from our role players.
They can do this though, right? They can go cold. They're so reliant on other guys hitting 3-point shots, and some of those guys are not consistent from the 3-point line, whether it's Lou Dort or Alex Caruso. And they have guys who can hit them more consistently, like Isaiah Joe or Aaron Wiggins, but those guys don't play a ton of minutes. Yeah, so like they really need the guys who are like tough defenders to hit their threes, and they go cold sometimes. In fact, they scored 97 points today against Charlotte. I haven't looked at that box score. And in those games where the other guys go cold, they need SGA to score 40, right? And they can do that, and he can do that pretty regularly, and that's why they've won so many games. But I really thought the Suns did a good job overall on SGA to keep his points to 25, and with SGA, that's good, right? Because he had the longest 30-point streak this season so far. And yeah, they held him to 25 points. They did a good job not fouling him for the first 3 quarters. He got to the line in the fourth quarter quite a bit. But overall, I thought did a really good job with their strategy on him.
Yeah, there's also kind of the Jalen Williams element of it. Like, they did a great job on Shea, to your point. But then also, if Shea is not going to be the guy who's scoring 35, 40 points like he typically does, OKC, for as amazing as they are, doesn't have a second superstar in a traditional sense. They just don't. I mean, Chet's the second best guy from an impact perspective. Jalen Williams is the best guy from a scoring perspective, but he missed a lot of time this year early in the season, and now he's been integrated for like 15 games, but his numbers are down across the board. I don't know the last time Jalen Williams had I don't know if he has had I don't think he's had a 30-point game this season, and I don't know how many times he's even hit 25. So
yeah, it's a good question.
Yeah. No, you're right.
He was good in this game.
Catch them in a bad spot sometimes.
Yeah, and it's up to you to hit threes. Like you really just have to outscore them from the 3-point line and try not to turn the ball over. The Suns still did turn it over quite a bit in this game. I actually don't know what they finished with. 15 turnovers, it's not that bad. Honestly, it's just barely over their average. And but Jalen Williams did score. He was 9 for 13 at 23 points. He was good overall, but to shut everyone else down pretty cleanly, I think was really important in this game. You know, like they started Cason Wallace and he had 3 points. If you have a starter with 3 points, the other team's going to have a good chance to win. Now, keep in mind the Suns started Royce O'Neal, who also had 3 points, but Royce O'Neal contributed pretty well in that game outside of that. He had 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and his 3 assists were pretty important. By the way, the one shot he made was pretty important as well. It was a really important swing moment of the game. But back to SGA, I thought David, our friend on Twitter, really outlined this well.
Yes.
What the Suns did to target him defensively, especially down the stretch in the game, likely contributed to his offense struggling as well, because making him be involved defensively on every single play, which is what the Suns did regardless of who is attacking him, is going to wear him down. It's physically exhausting. He has to exert a lot of energy. And just in the fourth quarter alone, in the thread that David outlined, they had Devin Booker going at him and scoring on him, Dylan Brooks scoring on him, and Oso Ighodaro scoring on him.
Yeah,
that's 3 different guys who play dramatically different, being physical with him and finding ways to get him to be involved defensively.
I think it's one thing for, trying to work the screens in order to attack Shea on the ball is pretty, it's always good to see, but I think it's pretty intuitive of like most stars are going to try and do that in some sense. The Oso clip really stood out to me because that was an example where OKC had specifically moved him off the ball and he was in a tagging role where he had to come off the ball and help as Oso was rolling to the basket, and just continuing to find ways to involve Shea in the play, even when, they're actively trying to hide him. OKC is effectively, is just the mark of a really good process and really good coaching for the Suns in the fourth quarter. So it kind of felt like, dare I say, playoff hoops, Yeah. Like, these are high profile games against really good teams now. And maybe there's still an element of teams that know they might see each other in the playoffs, you know, you're not trying to show your entire hand. But I do think we've seen some of the secrets come out for the Suns over these recent games against these playoff teams like OKC, like Houston. Here's one. I want to play a little impromptu something or nothing game with you. We've done this before.
Okay.
Last 2 games, Oso Ighodaro, more minutes than Mark Williams in both games. What do you make of it?
Well, that was the next topic I was going to bring up, because I was going to start that topic by saying 2 awesome Oso Ighodaro games. Mark Williams.
Hold up, real quick. He played 24 minutes to Mark's 21 against OKC. Notice that those 2 numbers do not add up to 48, and that's actually because another little interesting thing. We saw a small ball 5 lineup against OKC. Who was at the 5? Was that Ryan Dunn? Kind of at the 5 there.
You could say O'Neal? Ryan Dunn. I would probably say Dylan Brooks.
Or Dylan Brooks. I feel like Ryan Dunn might have been on who I don't remember who the 5 was in that lineup for OKC anymore. Anyway, that was
it was a switch everything lineup anyway, so it's like, you know, it doesn't really matter.
And then Houston tonight it had to add up to 48, obviously, because Steven Adams, I don't care if KD made the game-winning shot. Steven Adams is the MVP of that team. There's my hot take of the night.
Yeah, we've talked about it before. Yeah.
Mark Williams, 21 minutes tonight against Houston, and Oso had 27 minutes, including closing the game.
Oso was very good. Mark Williams struggled in Houston. Well, struggled in both games, I think, but I think was really bad in the Houston game in particular. But just talking about OKC, that's just, I think, in a lot of ways, a bad matchup for Mark Williams. If you were sort of to outline what a bad matchup would look like, it would look like Chet, right? I do think in Houston, on paper, that should be a better matchup for Mark Williams, and we can talk about why we think he struggles against someone like Steven Adams, but I don't think it's that complicated. But when it comes to OKC, pushing him out to the perimeter, forcing him to guard a little too far, and taking him too far away from the rim really just takes away what he's really good at, which is rebounding. You know, when he's in there battling with guys under the rim, he has the ability of getting his hands on the ball and creating extra possessions, or just ensuring that the other team isn't able to get extra possessions because he's getting the defensive rebounds. Getting him out on the perimeter and forcing him to move his feet a little too much, especially off the ball when he's guarding in space, is where he's really struggled this season. And if it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4 steps that you have to read, you know, and he's out there on the perimeter, that's when it becomes a little difficult for him. On the other hand, Oso Ighodaro is really good at that stuff. I mean, in some ways, the scheme with him is easier, right? Because you could just switch, or you can switch and double real quick. And with Mark Williams, you're trying to avoid that because he's just not as quick-footed as Oso Ighodaro. But Oso has been really good. Anytime a team is going to go small against the Suns, they have a weapon for that. They have Oso Ighodaro. It's not trying to beat them with size, which really I thought it was maybe leaning towards when the season started and Oso Ighodaro wasn't very good. Instead, we say, okay, we'll match you with a small ball 5 who's pretty physical, pretty big, and can guard on the perimeter. And Oso Ighodaro, yeah, he can't shoot. Like a traditional small ball 5, you would expect to shoot threes. No, that's not what Oso is. But he's going to keep the ball moving. He's going to guard out on the perimeter. He can get rebounds against smaller lineups, and he doesn't make a ton of mistakes. Yeah. Which is a big thing for him.
He also is doing a better job. I mean, he's not Mark Williams, and we know that. But I do want to point out that Oso, 27 minutes tonight against Houston, he had 5 offensive rebounds again. And he really battled with Steven Adams down there in the closing minutes of the game. Now, I do agree with you. I think, you know, the general idea behind the strategy is like, let's not worry so much about a team like Houston that they're going to get offensive rebounds. They're going to win the second chance points battle. So, you know, our goal in putting Oso out there is really to free up the offense, beat them in terms of transition points, fast break points, and the Suns certainly did that tonight. But it is also not nothing that Oso is now at a point where we can trust his rebounding numbers a little bit better, to match like more what you would see in a traditional big.
If you care about coffee and how it's made, check out Alchemy Roast. They roast in small batches and source their beans responsibly, focusing on flavor instead of mass production. The result is coffee that's balanced, well-developed, and easy to drink whether you brew at home every day or just want something better than grocery store coffee. You can order online at alchemyroaster.com, and if you use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. Go now to alchemyroaster.com, my favorite coffee, and use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout. Get 10% off, support a local Phoenix business, and get the best coffee you can buy. Let's talk about Devin Booker. I thought Jordan Ott talking about Devin Booker after the OKC game was really good. Did you see that by any chance?
No, I did not.
He basically said, our superstar passes the ball. And I'm not even like mincing words. That's how he said it. He said Devin Booker had 9 assists against OKC, which he did. I think he had a couple of turnovers too, but it was a really good game overall with his playmaking and his passing. Let me actually check how many turnovers. 1. So he had 9 assists and only 1 turnover against OKC. Huge. He said he had 9 assists against this team, but many of those threes that were created were as a result of Devin Booker's passing that he did not get an assist for. So it was driving, passing one, and then the swing pass to the open corner, which did happen quite a bit. And honestly, the Suns had 0 chance in this game if they weren't creating corner threes against OKC, because a lot of the best defenses in the NBA tend to be a little bit soft on corner threes because they're doing a really good job protecting the rim and creating turnovers. And to create turnovers, you have to jump into the passing lane, which often means collapsing off the corners.
Yeah, there needs to be a little wiggle room somewhere, and that's often in the corners is the soft spot.
Exactly. So you have to actually capitalize on that. And Book had 24 points in that game, 9 assists, and then obviously the big play was the game winner, but he also was plus 11. I think Colin Gillespie was not very good shooting wise against OKC, so the minutes with Devin Booker on the floor sort of carried in that game. I don't think Colin Gillespie has had a great game against OKC yet, by the way. That's just one of the teams that's really frustrated him so far this season. But in this game, Devin Booker, I thought, was really, really excellent. Just overall, getting into the lane, finding ways to make the right passes, and just reading the defense one step quicker than they could read him. And that's how a lot of guys got open shots. And Jordan Ott, I think, did a really good job outlining that and talking about the game afterwards.
So I didn't see Jordan Ott's comments. What I did see, and I'm sure you saw too, is the clip that, I don't know if it went viral exactly, but I think it was the most widely shared clip after that game. A reporter asked Booker, you have that final shot against Alex Caruso, one of the best defenders, one of the best perimeter defenders in the game. What's your confidence level, in getting your shot off?
Yeah, how confident were you? Yeah.
Yeah. And
he said, what did he say?
Pretty confident.
It's pretty good.
Yeah,
and it's so Booker because it's not like
wearing the Clark Kent glasses too. By the way, just in the history teacher outfit of people who saw the clip know what I'm talking about. But yeah, just his demeanor after big moments like this is always going to be one of the things. I hate that I even am talking about him in, as if it's like an in memoriam of his career, because I know he has so much left, but like. One of the things that's always going to stick with me about watching Booker's game is the calmness, even in those big moments, just lying on the floor, back with his back on the floor, back on the court. And also the stat that really got me today on the broadcast was they put up the most game-winning field goals since 2015-16. Did you see that too? The most game-winning... Oh, you didn't see this on the Suns broadcast today? The most game-winning field goals in the NBA in the past 10 years. Book is tied for second now with Jason Tatum. They both have 8. The number one guy with 9 in the past decade is Kawhi Leonard, which really surprised me. Not because Kawhi isn't great, but just because he hasn't been super available. So crazy that's the guy who leads the league.
He's been really good lately too.
He has.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and I think maybe I think for Suns fans, it's easy to take what Devin Booker does for granted just over the years because he's done it for years and years and years. But I think especially now, watching what he can do in these games where he's the point guard, like he's definitely the point guard. And that OKC game, like it's very clear that his job duties were to be the guy who was creating offense for everyone else. Plus, you still need him to score 25 plus points, ideally, if you're going to have any chance to win. It's just really impressive. It's a lot of responsibility that's been placed on him. And when he comes through, he really comes through. He finds a way to do it in pretty impressive ways. But yeah, I agree. In the OKC game, when he hit the shot, he didn't celebrate at all, which is also very Devin Booker, right? Because he knows there's time left on the clock. So he's not the guy that's running to the bench and screaming in their faces and jumping around. He's just very calmly.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Walking.
I mean, there were a couple seconds left. So.
Yeah, I think there was like 0.7.
There was 1 second. Still enough time for a shot off.
And they got a shot off, and it was pretty open thanks to Royce O'Neal falling asleep. AJ Mitchell got a shot off, and if it had gone in, the Suns would have gone to overtime. Then who knows what the tenor of this podcast would be going into that. But yes, he's very calm, and he did a very good job. I think in the Rockets game too, he finished with 27 points on 20 shots, 7 for 8 from the free throw line, had 2 threes, 2 for 5, which is kind of what you need him to look like from the 3-point line. Hitting open ones and maybe even a contested one here or there. Didn't do as well passing the ball, but I think, specifically in the first half, there was some Suns players that were struggling a little bit to hit some shots. Like, look, Grayson Allen's back, and I'm happy Grayson Allen's back. There's a chance the Suns would have won this game if he didn't play because he did struggle. Now, there's not a lot of guys that can come in. Like Rasheer Fleming even got 5 minutes in this one and didn't play very well either. But Grayson Allen, 0 for 6, 0 for 4. Did do a good job passing the ball.
Yeah, he moved the ball. He had 6 assists, 4 steals, 3 turnovers,
but look,
2. He had
Grayson
a really
Allen
bad
being like 37-year-old Russell Westbrook is not exactly what you need him to be, right? You need him to be a guy who can launch and hit threes.
Yeah, sure.
Early in this game, Royce was struggling too. I was thinking Grayson could hit those, and then he didn't.
He missed shots. I thought he moved well, which is all I really cared to see from Grayson. A couple of those passes,
because the shot will come back.
A couple of those passes were really bad. He had a bad kick ahead to Ryan.
2
Dunn
of them
that caused a turnover at one point. That was, he was going for a touchdown, right, and just basically threw it into the stands. But yeah, other than that, he had a lob to Oso, a couple other assists that were nice tonight, and some steals. As I said, he was moving in transition, so. As long as he looks good in terms of his movement, I think everything else will come back for Grayson. I'm not too worried.
I am happy he's back. It's just like every game where another player rejoins feels a little bit closer to them being fully healthy. Admittedly, Bouye being out after taking an elbow to the face, by the way, in the OKC game. I already forgot who it was that hit him. That sucks because Bouye's been good. We've talked a lot about him on this podcast, probably more than anyone else ever has, admittedly, but it'd be nice if he was healthy too. Like you said, he would have gotten some minutes in this game. Look, I think no matter what, like we can talk about being close in this game and the Suns doing a good job against Houston. This is a team that's a bad matchup for the Suns no matter what. They're so huge across their starting lineup. The Suns do not have the size to match up. They have to hit threes to have any chance against this team. And then getting rebounds is going to be a struggle because it's not just Steven Adams, right? You got Devin Booker boxing out Jabari Smith Jr., who's like 6'11" or whatever height he actually is. And like that's not going to work very well either. They just have so much size. And that's the main thing that has given the Suns trouble this season. I in a weird way, they're a better matchup against OKC because although OKC is physical and does a really good job, they're just not overwhelming you with size in the same way that Houston does.
Yeah.
The Suns can match up a little better with them, especially in the Oso Ighodaro minutes.
You're not wrong. However, OKC, if they're on a good night, can just run.
They're
you out
a
of the
better
building.
team.
They're
a better team.
I'm just talking
matchup.
It's not even close. And Houston, I just feel like every game against Houston is going to be a rock fight, and I don't trust that team with their late game execution. I know it worked tonight. It literally just worked. And KD sent us home. But I don't know. I think it would be interesting against that team in a playoff series. If you had to choose, let's throw OKC out of it. They're going to be the first seed. and let's say Phoenix ends up in 6 or 7, I'd love for them to be higher than that. But if they're 6 or 7, they're most likely playing San Antonio, Houston, or Denver in the first round. Would love to play LA. That's the dream scenario, right? A first round series against the Lakers, because
like
that's one where,
or something.
Yeah, like 4 or 5, because that's where you feel like you're actually favored, maybe not by the media, but like I think we would feel like the Suns are actually the better team. But them notwithstanding, you can have your pick between San Antonio, Houston, and Denver in a first round series. Who are you taking?
It's really tough. I think I think I would pick San Antonio.
I think there's a chance that Houston is the worst team of those 3. I know the net rating doesn't corroborate that, but is a really tough individual matchup, to your point, for the Suns.
And yet, like, there's no good matchup against Wemby either. And the Suns did a good job in the one game they played against Wemby so far. That doesn't mean anything, really. He could just be way, way, way better than that. But I do think San Antonio is so young, and Houston is too, especially with the guys that they play, that there's a chance that those guys collapse. And admittedly, we've seen what can happen with KD in the playoffs sometimes, although he was pretty good the first year he got here. I think that second year he was a turnover machine. If the Suns were not physical enough against KD, I thought tonight to force turnovers.
They were not.
Yeah, I think the book on KD so far has been sending 2 guys at him and blitzing him over and over and over again. And the Suns didn't do that this game. I think it probably would have gotten there had KD been scoring a little better. But the fact that he, like I said, he was 1 for 11 from 3 till the end of that game. What they were doing was kind of working in a way that kept the Suns close in this game and gave them a chance to win at the end. If he was killing them, I think they probably would have blitzed him more. And to your point, maybe that's what they would do in the playoffs and just try to take the ball out of his hands as much as possible and see if other guys can beat him. Who would you pick?
Yeah, again, it'll be different in the playoffs with Şengün there, because that just adds layers to Houston's complexity on offense. And at that point, it's more so just, do you trust Ime Udoka and kind of the players to want to be complex in their offense? Because I don't know that they want that. Who would I pick? I mean, Houston's probably also the most fun, right? Like, that's the most...
I mean, in the way that it also has, like, the highest chance of being... Well, like, the highest chance of being absolutely painful. Admittedly, I went into this Houston game today... It could be painful,
but the heights could be so high.
You're addicted. This is like Uncut Gems, man. This is Uncut Gems. I went into this Houston game not caring at all. Just being like, man, the Suns are on the second night of a back-to-back. They played a tough team yesterday. They barely flew there a couple hours ago. Let's just get this game over with so we can record our podcast. By the end of this game, I was so locked in emotionally. I was so invested in the outcome of this game that the air ball hurt, that the KD 3 hurt. And I don't know, man. Like, emotionally, you're right. The highs would be higher. They would be higher. I mean, honestly, maybe
and
not.
Also,
getting to the second, because by the end of any playoff series against any team, you end up fucking hating them, no matter who it is.
That's true.
So I don't know. Maybe it would be the same regardless of who the Suns play if they make it to the second round, as far as highs go. But yeah, there is an element of feeling especially good, winning against the team that you made a major trade with like that.
And just like, I mean, KD said it himself with the whole happiness is a function of expectation stuff too. Like, he knows it. Everyone would expect Houston to win that series in like 5 games. And so the possibility that actually they wouldn't and that we'd make them work for it, I think would be pretty exciting. It'd be all gravy for me. It'd be very toxic and very fun.
Yeah. Who else do you want to talk about? Anyone specifically that stands out in these last
speaking
2
of
games?
toxicity, actually, let's continue on that theme. And I should say, I want to apologize to you for something you said on a Patreon episode recently where you said Dillon Brooks should be an all-star, and I pushed back on it a little bit. And Dillon Brooks should be an all-star. You're right. You're right.
What won you over?
I mean, I think your argument was very sound the other day, where you were basically just like, this is the type of player who should be rewarded because he makes the other players care. Just imagine Dillon Brooks picking up 94 feet in an all-star game. That's a good argument. I hadn't thought of it. So I think partially just that, but also another good game against OKC. more tough buckets, had the
He was so good.
the step back three into the
Yeah.
catapult shot that he has, which is just his regular jump shot, but it
A
looks
hideous jump shot.
looks
Yeah.
so funny to me every time. The step back three.
His
that he
1-3 as well, by the way.
Yeah, the
Oh no, that was
possession
Houston
before.
that he had one. Maybe he had more.
He had 2 against OKC.
He had 2. Okay, there you go.
But yeah, he made tough shots against OKC, had 22 points. Made tough shots against Houston tonight. Still continues to be just an automatic bucket in the post. Only had 15 tonight. But still. I would put him-
15 on the second night of a back-to-back against a good team is not nothing.
Yeah.
What, second highest scorer of the game, I assume? Yeah, looking at it, tied with Royce O'Neal. Yeah, I mean, he's I think with him too, like I've said before on previous podcasts, the real thing about him is that it's not just what he does on the court. I think the impact he has on what other players are expected to do it's sort of immeasurable. It's really hard to like quantify, but I do think that having Dillon Brooks on your team, because of how hard he tries, because of how desperate he is to win every possession, it is contagious. It has an impact on other guys. It makes them try harder. And I'm not just talking about this, like what the impact it would have on the All-Star game, because yes, that was the point I was trying to make when we talked about it, which I truly believe, just from an entertainment perspective, is the best possible thing you could do for it. But also his impact on a team, it goes beyond even when he's on the court. It is a leadership thing too. You know, it's sort of a Chris Paul thing as well, in the way that you get a guy like that on the team. It has this sort of extended impact that goes across the entire team. And, you know, the fact that happens, and look, maybe it's the type of thing with Dillon Brooks where it lasts a year or two and then, you know, it doesn't work anymore. The magic is gone or whatever. But, you know, it is the type of thing where I don't know how you measure it. Like, I don't know that you can. By the way, can we talk about Matt Ishbia tweeting about him?
Oh, yeah.
There was a tweet that said that there's a lot of Lakers stuff about Dillon Brooks, because of course there is, right? Because Dillon Brooks embarrassed them, so now they want him. Lakers fans, by the way, I don't think there's any real talk behind the scenes about trading Dillon Brooks, but there was an account that tweeted that the Lakers are looking at a trade that would be essentially Austin Reeves for Dillon Brooks. Matt Ishbia retweeted that and said essentially he's not available. Go ahead, and we're going to hang up the phone on that one. What's your thoughts, just from an overall perspective, Austin Reeves for Dillon Brooks?
You know, I hadn't thought too much about Austin Reeves
Because it's a fake trade. Admittedly, it's a fake trade. Like, this is just like one of those accounts that's just farming for engagement.
Yeah, it's just not
which I
gonna
think is
happen.
important to say. So it's not going to happen. But I just, you know, just for to measure like our estimation of what Dillon Brooks is for this team, I think it'd be a good way to talk about that trade.
I think it's sort of a good example of why basketball is so hard to talk about. And as much as you try and, you know, pull in the advanced numbers, as Zach Lowe would say, the Vorps and Schnorps, you know, it's just hard to talk about the impact that players have on a basketball court. I know that Austin Reeves like creates more points than Dillon Brooks offensively, right? He's like has more potential as an offensive engine. He's a much better playmaker. He's a better 3-point shooter. He's a better grifter, although that's the other thing is like, what's to say that as soon as he's in Phoenix, his free throw rate doesn't just cut in half? I feel like that's entirely possible.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and then what is he without that? No. I don't know. Austin Reeves is a really good player, but he is also a turnstile on defense, and there's an intangible effect to what Dillon Brooks is currently doing in Phoenix that Vorp doesn't capture, you know? Or just like points created doesn't capture. And so that's what makes this a difficult conversation. I liked the fact that Ishbia stood on business publicly and said, we're not going to trade him. Made sense to me.
I mean, it's easy to do that for a trade that's probably fake anyway. This is not to say that it's a bad thing that he did it. I think it's good as well.
But like also,
And
let's be honest, like Lakers fans have a reputation with, you know, their trades. Like I'm surprised they even offered us in this fake trade that's not happening. Austin Reeves is a real player. They could have said, let's give
Rui
them
Hachimura, basically, yeah.
Gabe Vincent and
Ayton.
and not even Ayton. They could have said, we'll give them Gabe Vincent and Shake Milton, and they
Jake
should give us,
LaRavia.
yeah, like that to me is a standard Lakers fan proposal. So whereas Austin Reeves actually averages 25 points a game, so for Ishbia to be like, this is not happening, is meaningful.
I think I'm on your side on that. Like, just the idea. Like, I do think that in a vacuum, Dillon Brooks for Austin Reeves is selling high on Dillon Brooks for a lot of teams. I just don't know that it is for the Suns. That losing him, I think you would just, first of all, you would lose the only forward with any size that can play on this team. So that's a problem already. But also, like you said, the leadership that's lost and the fact that the Suns become a much, 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 much worse defensive team playing Austin Reeves and Devin Booker together, I think it becomes really difficult. So I agree with you on that. But just on the point of Matt Ishbia tweeting about it and actually posting something online, if you follow Dillon Brooks' career, which, by the way, big week for Dillon Brooks, somebody pointed this out in our Discord. He played against his Canadian teammate in SGA, multiple Canadian teammates, I believe, in OKC. He played against his former team in Houston, back home in Houston in the game today, and then the Suns play Memphis next, his former team before that. Memphis, when Dillon Brooks was on the team, for those who don't know or maybe don't remember, when Dillon Brooks was a free agent, they publicly put out a statement saying there is no chance that the Memphis Grizzlies want to bring Dillon Brooks back onto this team. So they very, very loudly and very publicly said, F that guy, we don't want him. And admittedly, Dillon Brooks is not what he was. Like, his reputation was a lot worse. His offensive play was a lot worse. But it probably didn't feel good, for him to hear that, as a guy who gave it a lot, gave a lot to that team and tried every single game that they played. So I think
in multiple playoff series with that team too. Yeah.
And honestly was pretty good, and they've kind of struggled without him. But for the opposite to happen here in Phoenix, for the owner to go online and say the exact opposite, no, we're not going to do anything to get rid of this guy. We're not even going to trade for your likely all-star this season or somebody who could be an all-star this season. We're not even going to trade him for Dillon Brooks. Not the worst thing to do, regardless of how genuine it is. But I do truly believe it's genuine.
It comes from a genuine place, and at the same time, the players aren't stupid. They know more than us as fans because they've lived this experience of the league being a business, and so they know that, it's nice when people show you love in the moment, but it doesn't actually. It doesn't mean that you can trust what an owner says for all time. But the season that Dillon Brooks is having right now, he deserves to have respect put on his name by Suns fans everywhere, and that includes Matt Ishbia. Absolutely.
All right, so that was the games against OKC and Houston. Did anything else stand out to you about those games that you wanted to talk about? Like what do we do when Mark Williams, like if this was a playoff series, for example, against the Houston Rockets or against OKC, does Oso just start by game 3?
Yeah, there's a real chance that he does. I mean, look, a lot of the Mark Williams thing, I think tonight was second night of a back-to-back, having to go on the plane. There's all of that stuff with Mark Williams too. But yeah, there's a real chance that once you're in a 7-game series, as we're hoping the Suns will be at some point in April, and you're throwing punches back and forth between coaches, and the rotations have to tighten, right? That always becomes a conversation. There's a real chance that Oso becomes a starter. Yeah, I could totally see it happening. Depends on the matchup, but I could see it. I mean, but also on Houston's end, if we were in a first-round series with Houston, does Steven Adams play 36 minutes a game for them? It's like,
I mean, I think he's going to have to.
Rotations, I mean, maybe, yeah, but also, that's scary for them, right? That's another thing about Houston that's wow, really? They want to rely on that guy that much? Tari Eason,
countering, because Şengün starts too, countering their overwhelming size with just guys that are faster and can potentially shoot threes might be the only chance the Suns have.
Yeah.
and then blitzing KD like we talked about. But what were you going to say?
Just Tari Eason, I was thinking again about, he was the guy on Book for the last shot, and him now starting over Josh Okogie has been a big deal for them. And just having a guy who has more length, definitely. Josh Okogie's a great defender too, but Tari Eason, the exact type of athletic profile who gives Book problems in one-on-one situations, and we saw how that last shot looked tonight, so he did a good job.
He did. And he's been lights out from three like all season. He did finish this game 5 for 15, which also gave the Suns a chance. I think they did help off of him quite a bit in a way that could actually hurt you a little bit, and he missed some shots moving towards the rim, which truthfully most players on this team struggle to do. Like they kind of need the easy shots, either at the rim or wide open threes to do a good job. Even Amen Thompson, who was 5 for 13 in this game as well, if he's shooting like moving shots outside of getting to the rim and shooting at the rim, there's no guarantee there. And even his wide open threes are not going to go in, which by the way, shot 0 of in this game. It's really kind of funny looking at their starting lineup and realizing KD shot 12 threes, Jabari Smith shot 8, Tari Eason shot 6, and then 2 guys shot 0. Just 0 3-pointers. And then, of course, Clint Capella shoots none. Aaron Holiday only shot. They just don't shoot a ton of threes as a team. Mm-hmm. Still finished with 37 because KD was really launching from 3, which, by the way, almost like hurts a little more to see after him being on the Suns.
It is kind of funny. Like, what's funnier, losing to KD on a 3 or losing to KD on the Hezi Jimbo, whatever. It is kind of, there's
on a 3 in a game, he shot 12 of them, which I'm sure he did on the Suns. Like, I know people are going to want to pull the stats.
Sure,
I'm sure he did
times.
that occasionally.
But there's some irony there. KD also, by the way, played 39 minutes in this game. And
he did. That's what he does, man.
Well,
you can't take him out. Like, he's just not. He won't do it.
Yeah.
Like,
sure. No. All right. I'm not
saying it's good for his long-term health.
No, I know you're not saying that. I'm wondering, should they be doing that? But yeah, I guess he doesn't want to come out. He doesn't want to come out.
It's really difficult to do that. Let's look at the schedule. I do want to kind of take a look at the schedule before.
Just before the schedule, real quick. One other thing I wanted to say in my impromptu segment of "Is this something or nothing?" which did not turn into an actual segment.
Oh yes,
but
yes.
We got 5 minutes of Isaiah Livers against OKC, and then we substituted that with 5 minutes of Rasheer Fleming against Houston.
Yeah,
is it happening?
I mean, it could be, but would Isaiah Livers been better?
I don't think so.
I think he may have been, man.
No, I don't think so. I think
he's
Isaiah
pretty
Livers.
Good.
When was the last time he made a shot? I don't know.
He made a shot in the OKC game.
Okay, he made one shot in the OKC game. Fine, his first shot of the season.
Corner 3, perfect swish, no rim.
No, I actually
like
the way Isaiah Livers has played, and I think for a guy who has a long history of hip injuries, really moves his feet surprisingly well on defense.
That's a good point, yeah.
Yeah, no, seriously, I'm surprised every time he's out there. I'm like, this is not a guy, like, you just read his history and it's red flag after red flag, and then he hustles out there. He's another guy who hustles. So all the more reason why it's important to watch tape on a guy and see how he actually pops off the screen. That being said, just give me the Rasheer minutes at this point. If it's 6 minutes a game, fine. Give me a real stint of Rasheer Fleming minutes every game. I thought he was fine. I thought he was fine tonight.
Fine is a good way to put it. I mean, like he got up 3 shots in 5 minutes and didn't make any of them. But like some of them were like off offensive rebounds where he was just trying to get it up off.
Yeah,
off
2 of those were offensive rebounds. I think.
Yeah, so it's like, what are those really? They're I don't even like how they count those as stats. It's a weird thing. But anyway, there were a couple plays where his arms really stood out, including his foul. Where he fouls a guy from so far away because his arms are so long. And yeah, no, you're right. You're probably right. Like the ceiling of what Rasheer Fleming can be versus what Isaiah Livers can be is obviously dramatically different.
I think even in year one for Rasheer, it's higher, honestly.
Yeah, no, it probably is. But was this Houston game the game to do it?
Why not?
Because it was so close. The margins were so slim. The Suns had a chance to win this one. Isaiah Livers has played more minutes.
I just don't think Isaiah Livers in 6 minutes is making that difference.
I mean, probably not. You're probably right. But I do think there's a chance. Like, okay, since this will segue into our schedule conversation here. The next game's at Memphis. There's a game you can put him in. By the way, using the same website that tells you how much the tickets are. Remember, we talked about it for the New York games, the Brooklyn, New York games.
Mm-hmm.
In Memphis, it says tickets as low as $4.
Whoa.
So if anyone here listening lives in Memphis, put $10 on it. You might sit courtside for that game. That shows a little bit about the feelings about the fans in Memphis.
They've lost.
They've been playing better lately, but are they not? I mean, they must.
Well, they
be
lost.
pretty bad.
They've lost 4 in a row now. They were playing better,
there you
and now
go.
they've
Yeah.
lost to Washington, Philly, Lakers, and then Lakers in their past 4.
Okay. Lakers are
And-
12-0 in the clutch, by the way.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that not crazy?
They're a bullshit team, and it'll catch
12-0.
it'll catch up with them eventually, man. This is why that's the team. Like, if you can get up to the 5th seed and LA is still there in 4th, or vice versa, you get up to the 4th seed and they're in 5th. I mean, that's your ticket to the Western Conference Finals right there. Long way to go. It's a long season, but yeah, I do think about it.
So so Memphis is the next game. Then they have a homestand with 2 games before they go on that extremely long road trip that they have, or I guess it's probably a road trip. I'm assuming they're not coming home between any of these games. So it's Memphis, New York Knicks at home, which look, I'm looking forward to that one. That's this coming Friday, and then Sunday with Washington at home. Washington, by the way, I think they've won 6 of their last 10.
So this is a really weird week. Memphis was climbing the standings, and now they've lost 4 in a row. The Knicks are the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they've lost like 6 of their last 10, including tonight. Washington
They always attack McHale when they lose, by the way. I've noticed there's fans.
They should be attacking Karl Anthony Towns, and I think they are.
Everyone attacks the guy that you trade the most for, though, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Wizards winning games and might trade for Trae Young. That's another thing that happened today. By the way, we're putting...
Yeah, Trae Young could be in that game.
No, he won't. He won't be. But
he could be.
He won't be.
Sunday.
He could be on the Suns. We're putting to bed that idea, right?
I think the Suns did. If they're trying to build the identity, if they're truly committed to building the identity that they're trying to build, Trae Young is the antithesis of that. He's not a hard worker. He's not a tough defender. He's not gritty. He's everything that the Suns say they're not, right? He's a little bit lazy. He doesn't move off the ball. He doesn't play good defense. He's one of the worst defenders in the NBA. It's the reason that I'm off the Trae Young train as well. Which I guess we could talk about, but yeah.
Mark Stein put out a report saying that the Wizards are interested, and at first I was like, how stupid are they? Like, they can't be serious. And maybe to a certain extent I still believe that, but then I read his subsequent tweets that said, like, Trae Young has no trade value. And
it made it very clear his value is really bad.
And the deal would be CJ McCollum and pieces, like filler, for Trae Young and picks. Like, the Hawks would have to attach maybe second-round picks, but they'd have to attach picks to get off of Trae Young's contract just to send him to Washington at this point, is the insinuation, which is absolutely insane. I know Trae Young's value is low right now, and I don't believe in him either, and I would not want the Suns to go after him, but that is just crazy. A crazy indictment and an interesting reflection of where we're at in the NBA, where, everyone's afraid of the second apron, understandably so, but also grit is at a premium, and these small guards who don't defend are just like kind of seen as worthless. Who wins in a 2-on-2 between Colin Gillespie and Dylan Brooks versus Trae Young and Austin Reeves?
Now that should be at All-Star Weekend.
That'll be the special event, Adam Silver. We got you covered.
Are there refs or not? Because
replace
Dylan Brooks
the skills.
Gets ejected.
No refs. Street ball rules.
Colin Gillespie and
Street
Dylan
ball
Brooks.
rules. Dylan Brooks is cooking. Yeah, man. Just replace the skills challenge with that, and I think we'll get some eyeballs on the screens.
Okay, just to reiterate, just what the Suns are looking at after that. So it's Memphis, New York, Washington. The Memphis game is away. The 2 other games are at home. Then they're looking at Miami, at Detroit, at New York, at Brooklyn, at Philadelphia, at Atlanta. That's from January 13th to January 23rd. That is 6 games in a row on the road, all of them in the East, and a couple of them against really good teams. Miami's pretty good. Detroit is very good. New York is very good, although, like you said, they've been struggling. Philadelphia is a bit of a coin toss as far as which team you're going to get.
Yeah,
they can be very good, and they can be kind of mediocre. And Atlanta's good, and the Suns saw that firsthand in the game that they went up a lot on Atlanta, and Atlanta came back and beat them, especially if Trae Young's not playing. So it's just a bit of a gauntlet for them on the road, and they come back and they have a pretty long homestand after that. Most of their next 15, 20 games are at home after that because that's a long road trip, but that's going to be tough for this team, and they're going to be tested in a couple of interesting ways. One thing I've been thinking about, by the way, and thinking about the way Devin Booker has played, these are the games that he usually cooks in.
The East Coast
road games.
Yeah.
Has he not always been good at that? It'd be interesting to see how he plays in this road trip and see if that's one of those things that we can see the Devin Booker that we're so used to seeing once he gets into those games that he's usually good at. At Philadelphia is one of his favorite places to play, it seems. It'll be interesting to see how they play in those games. Any other thoughts? Anything else you want to talk about before we go?
Well, I know it feels like this gauntlet never ends. We just keep talking about gauntlet.
Yeah.
I will reassure people. First of all, I feel like the hardest part is already over. Nothing will be as bad as some of the competition they faced without Devin Booker often in the past 6 weeks. And Jalen Green, his return is on the horizon too, of course. Got to keep the faith. But also, for the past several seasons in a row, I feel like it's always been the case that the end of the season is always so hard for the Suns. I feel like we're always talking about these April schedules as contender after contender. It's not like that this year. Of course, their final game of the season, I just checked, is once again against the Oklahoma City Thunder.
On my birthday, by the way.
Nice. So they always play OKC this year. They're the only team to play them 5 times.
OKC might be done by that game, though.
It's possible.
Yeah,
absolutely
they might
possible.
Not. Their seeding might be locked in.
Yeah,
so we'll
but
see
otherwise, eventually this schedule is going to lighten up, and the end of season should not be as difficult for Phoenix this year. So trust the process.
Those games could matter a lot for the Suns, especially if they're in that 6. Forgive me for saying this, 6-7 range. Those games could matter quite a bit. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Thanks everyone for listening. If you'd like to get an extra podcast every week, patreon.com/thetimeline. We appreciate you all, and we'll be back very soon.